Hi, I'm Colin O'Flynn, and I'm going to be teaching you ECED4406, Introduction to Computer Security here at Dalhousie University. So this is designed to introduce you to the course, so I call this the Introduction to the Introduction. And we're going to go over what the course is going to involve, how the rest of the course is going to work, at least so far. Things are kind of subject to change based on all the COVID changes that might occur. But I'm going to go over what the plan is. So hopefully this gets you interested in the course and starts to answer a few questions about how it's going to work. So number one, what is this course about? So this course is going to look at a lot of sort of consumer electronic type products. So we're going to look at like IoT devices. There's like an example of a lock. I've got another one here is like, some sort of IoT, this is a Ring hub. So we're going to take a look at, what's inside these devices, how do you actually analyze them? So what does the security mean, when we're talking about IoT devices? So this course, is a little different than other computer security. So if you're looking at computer science, they have a cybersecurity course as well at Dalhousie, and that's covering pretty different topics. So these are quite complementary. In case you are curious, about other aspects of computer security, we'll get into it a little bit, but the focus is really going to be on these what we call embedded systems. We're going to first talk about how do you secure them. Right, so a bit about what is cryptography. We're not going to go into a ton of detail of that. We're going to look at, how it works at a fairly high level, a few details as relevant for some of the attacks we'll discuss. But we'll also look at, what is a root of trust, what are security ratings that you're going to come across, so things that are highly relevant to when you go to use this stuff in real life. We're also going to look at how you actually break these systems, so to understand what most of the security ratings and all this means, you really have to have a good feel for how the attacks work in practice, right? It's like if someone asks you to design something and you have no idea what the attacker is going to do, what their capabilities are, what are realistic threat models, it's going to be very, very difficult for you to do that. On the other side too, a lot of this breaking embedded systems is actually pretty fun, so it's pretty interesting to dig into. There's a lot of challenges involved in it, so if you like puzzles or games, you're really going to enjoy how we actually break these embedded systems. If you don't like that sort of nonlinear thinking games, it might be a bit challenging, to be honest. But it's a lot of fun, and it's really rewarding because you're actually going to look at real systems. We're going to pull some real systems apart and actually analyze how they work and how you can dig into them. I also want to point out what this course is not about, right? So this course is not going to talk about web security and web security protocols. As I mentioned, this is actually covered in other courses too. So there's a computer networking course here at Dalhousie if you're taking the computer engineering program that you'll actually take or have taken. I forget the order here. But this dives into a little bit about the web security protocols and how they work and stuff like that. So we're not going to talk about that in this course. We're not duplicating that. That's also discussed in the computer science. If you're on that side of it, their cybersecurity course. We're also not going to talk a ton about detailed cryptographic algorithm development. There is an engineering math course, I believe, on this very topic. So if you're interested in a little bit more about how the actual algorithms work more fundamentally, then you can also take that course. So again, this is pretty complementary to what existing offerings are out there. We're not trying to duplicate stuff to make the course complete. There will be a little bit of that, but we're not going to go into it to remotely the level of detail those other courses would. We're also not going to talk about high-level application security. So when we talk about reverse engineering and all this stuff, you might see a lot of references out there to Android apps, Windows apps, web application. We're not going to look at attacks on websites, attacks on servers. We're not going to look at cross-site scripting, all these attacks that are relevant to really high-level systems. We're looking really at like these little embedded computer boards, automotive stuff like that. So that's the focus of this course, and that sort of scopes everything else we're going to do. All right, cool. So if you want to take this course, what should you already know? There's a pretty big range of stuff that you might need to know in the course, but really quickly, if I throw some words up, basically they should mean something to you. You should have dove in before to low-level computer architecture. We're going to be discussing quite a bit about, when we reverse engineer, we need to understand how does the stack work? What's a stack frame? When we discuss some of the analysis, we're going to have statistics involved in that. We're going to have different forms of vector math and things like that. So you should obviously be familiar with them. These are all things that you should have covered in previous courses. But just as a note, if you really didn't like getting into the details of the computer architecture, that's something we're going to deal with quite a bit. If you really didn't like statistics, that's something we're going to deal with a bit again. So it could be worthwhile just knowing that ahead of time to, maybe dig up some old notes or something like that. How are the lectures going to work? So this is one lecture right here as an example. I basically am going to try to do pre-recorded lectures. I'm probably going to mirror them somewhere public to make it easier to view mobile. So they'll be uploaded to Brightspace as much as possible. Brightspace had some limitations I've run into before. Brightspace will be the official repository if you want to check for links anywhere. But I'm going to try to mirror them somewhere mobile. If you're busy on your phone or something and you want to just catch a quick lecture, it might be a little easier this way. The official lecture time, Tuesday, so in the syllabus, 1:05 p.m. to 2:25 p.m., and this is all Atlantic Standard Time. So if you're not here, you might have to time shift. This is going to be a lecture time. It's really more Q&A. If this is 2 a.m. your time, there's really no need to make this. You can always send notes via the Teams meeting, and we can arrange a few additional other times if there's enough people that aren't in Atlantic Standard Time. Basically, the point of this, if you have questions, this is a bit like an open office hours time I'm using it as. So if you have questions, I might go over a few things. If it's clear that, hey, I've got a bunch of questions about topic X, I might go over that a little bit. So if there's stuff that's not clear, this is a great time to jump in and ask it. I'm not going to say anything in this time that's not also posted or otherwise made available to you. So basically, this time here is designed to sort of help you transition from these pre-recorded lectures and give that bit of back and forth that's going to be missing from it. So that's the point of this time. Now, there's also a Thursday time slot, same time, 1:05 to 2:25. What I'm doing is I'm actually reserving that, so I'm not going to use this time mostly. It's a bit of a lie. I'm occasionally going to. But my objective is that if you would like to have the experience of a fixed time that from 1:05 to 2:25, you can watch the lectures for this week. This is a time you can do that in. So I'm trying to leave that open for you, that you can actually schedule stuff here. I may occasionally use it, so there might be times the Tuesday slot's unavailable. There might be times that we need to go over a little more stuff, especially with the labs. So it's going to be, a bit of a mix between that, but I'll always post ahead of time if the Thursday slot is going to have anything actually live happening. Basically, each lecture, I'm trying to post some pretty short lectures, so 5 to 15 minutes. So each week, when I say a lecture, in that 1 hour 20 time slot, it'll actually cover multiple of the posted topics. So each actual little topic will be a small bit. In case you want to watch this, as I say, you're not using that one time slot. If you're trying to slot this into other spots, I find it a little easier that way, rather than having one big chunk that you've got to always dedicate. If you can watch a few short ones a week, that's great. That'll give you the same experience. So we're going to use this Microsoft Teams groups. This Microsoft Teams group is going to be everything we do is going to be in here. In terms of chat and stuff like that. I'm going to be using the Teams I'm going to be trying to use it as long as it works okay, to actually do the lectures on Tuesday. So there's going to be a scheduled team meeting that everyone can log into. So there's a link to this from the Brightspace. You don't automatically get this. I'm going to try to get everyone added to it. But in case in case it's not there yet, check the Brightspace, which you should automatically have access to, and it has a link to this. So the Brightspace, you're hopefully familiar with already. This is what we're going to use for like the syllabus and everything else that would normally be in the Brightspace type thing. So assignments are going to be posted here. Quizzes are going to be done through this. I may or may not enable the discussion forum, so we don't have two settings, but basically the Teams is going to be used to give you the interactive stuff. The Brightspace is going to be used for the official class material. So those are the two things you're basically going to have to track as part of the course. So I know a lot of people are using Teams with other courses, so hopefully that makes it easy if you already have it installed. If you didn't install it, Windows is always trying to install Teams, so you can finally install it and sign in, and this should give you the ability to discuss anything. And you'll notice so there's channels on the side, and I'll make some additional ones, but basically there's a lecture discussions channel, so this is kind of like a general chat. So if you have questions on a lecture, it'll sort of follow the weeks. You can use that. The lecture announcements channel is just where I'm going to post what lectures are sort of that week, so that you actually know ahead of time, what you can watch. The other channels, so I've added a casual channel here. If you want to have any sort of discussion quasi-related to the class, I know normally, people would sometimes ask you, hey, I've got a bit of a question about this related topic, or I'm interested in getting into it. You can always use that. So the idea is I've made a channel that's not 100% class material, but so feel free to use that. There's a general channel as well, and I'll add some more as the course goes on. In the syllabus, if you've already looked at that, you'll notice there's a mention of quizzes. So these quizzes aren't designed to be study really hard for them. Basically, it's to reinforce what you've gone through in the lecture. So it's going to cover some pretty basic topics. The idea is if you've sort of understood the lectures, the quizzes should be no problem at all. And there's just sort of a blanket marking across them. And so there'll be a little more details of that posted. I plan on starting that next week, basically, once we've had a few lecture topics in there. But again, they're not designed to be really complicated, and they're all going to run through the Brightspace system. So they'll all just be done through your computer, and you'll just have a certain time frame that you've got to do them in. There's going to be assignments as well. So in the syllabus, this was listed as weekly. This is actually kind of from the original plan. I didn't change that. Realistically, I think right now it's going to switch to one every 2 to 3 weeks, just to avoid overloading you. So I'm still kind of tweaking a little bit of this, and I'd like to see how things work before I finalize that. But yeah, so again, that's not posted yet. The assignments aren't available. But it'll be every, what I expect is every 2 to 3 weeks. There's kind of an assignment. It's a bit of practical, a bit of theoretical that's combined together. The purely practical side will be done in labs. So we're going to be attempting some remote labs. There are some labs planned for the course. They require some various tools. Luckily, those tools are open source and free. You can run them mostly on, anything Linux, Mac, Windows. They should work here. So I say should because we may need to make some tweaks as the course goes on. So I appreciate you bearing with me. It's not only a new course, now a new course that's going fully remote. And the labs are basically going to tie in to the assignments and course lectures to give you a chance to do some as much as hands-on as we can. Luckily in this course, it turns out a lot of the hands-on was going to be on the computer analysis side anyway. So you don't change too much in labs. The only thing you're really missing is potentially the chance to use the hardware. So what I'm going to do for anything that, could have been done physically in the lab before, I'm going to videotape parts of it. A lot of this also uses really low-cost tools. You'll notice there's no textbook for the course, so I don't have any expense there. You don't need to do it, but I'm going to be recommending, sort of $100 worth of tools that if you do want to give some of this stuff a shot with real devices, that you can pick up yourself and sort of play around with for the semester. So we'll get a little more into that once we get past the introductory lectures. Right now the labs are planned to be individual, so there's a bit of discussion going on how you can realistically keep that group feel alive. Right now I'm just claiming it's going to be individual, but we'll have an update on that before the first lab. And again, this isn't starting this week. The labs will start once we get a little more into the course. The other thing that again will be described once we get a little more into the course is a course project. The objective of this is once you've learned, a few skills, it would be fun to apply this in a more real life scenario. So this course project is going to be designed around that. So it's to apply some of what you've learned in the course. So we're going to pick a device, and there's going to be multiple devices to select from, and you'll do some analysis and develop a report on a specific device. So there's going to be more details of that coming, once you've had a little more introduction to the material and you have a better feel for how the course project could work. The final thing is the final of the course, and how this is going to run is a 24-hour sort of take-home final. In this case, it's stay home because you're already home. But basically, the final will involve a bit of practical, a bit of theoretical aspects. So this is a little bit of combination of a regular academic final as well as a lab final. So the objective of that is to show you've gone through the labs, you've accomplished the things that are required of you, and the final is going to combine both of those into sort of a bit of a proof of what you've learned, what we've covered in the course, and everything like that. So that's basically what the plan is for this course. So hopefully we enjoy it. There's going to be a lot more details coming. I know I said a lot is to come soon. Basically, depending on a few aspects of how this online aspect works, I might be able to tweak a little bit of it. But make sure you get on the Brightspace. Make sure you get on the Microsoft Teams. That's the most important stuff because all of the discussions and announcements is going to be coming through that.